take a statue off all of them.
What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we're going to talk about the comments by Senator Roger Wicker and, of course, everything else that has been going on, including earthquakes off of the West Coast. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
White horse riding in no saddle, kinda starting to look a lot like a Chicago. Politicians are starting to babble, rabble in a bunch of cattle, bunch of socks and sandals in Seattle, disappear like Cara Dune on that Mando. Hey, are you that slow? Do you have a maid or servant named Laszlo? Do they got you just a little boom asshole? Do they got you ready to go to bed?
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a ton to cover, so if you are new here or never been to one of our live shows, you can actually follow along on, of course, marfooglenews.com. Now, when you go there, you'll see that we have taken the time to put a bibliography of every single source, tweet, video, picture that we're going to show you here today. You'll have access to over there. Now, when you go to marfooglenews.com, you'll see it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail, so you'll look for what happens next, and then, of course, massive developments. Title is subject to change. When you click on this, you will see, of course, all of the links, every single article, tweet, video, picture. And then also a reminder, down at the bottom, there's an entire other show. Basically, the stuff that is too hot for TV will be under the web-only content. There is a ton happening as far as all of the stuff that is too hot for TV, over, too far in one direction to cover, without us being, without us covering it as neutral as possible. Again, it's very hard to do nowadays. And then if you do want to support us on the right side, if you go over there, you can support us by using our Amazon link or using any of our affiliates. Of course, there are really cool products over there. NordVPN, you have My Patriot Supply, Emp Shield, and such. All of those end up helping us as a channel, helping us financially with a commission. When you go over there, they basically send us a kickback. So thank you guys for supporting us. We are truly independent. We do not have a multi-channel network. We don't even have a multi-billion-dollar company. So let's get right into it. Let's bring in Dex. Dex has been out of the picture for a couple days. What is going on, Dex, and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So as you can probably hear, Dex is not in his normal studio. He is out and about as well. So he's working mobile, so his mic isn't as crazy good as it usually is. But again, I'm glad to have you back, Dex, and let's get straight into it. All right, and then just a reminder, you can go to marfooglenews.com and sign up for our alerts. All right, it says Japanese billionaire arrives at the ISS on space tourism trip ahead of SpaceX lunar journey. Japanese billionaire Yosuke Maezawa arrived at the International Space Station on Wednesday, where he'll spend nearly 2 weeks visiting on a private space as a private space tourist. It said Maezawa launched on a Russian Suez spacecraft along production assistant Yozo Hirano and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Masurkin. It says the Japanese entrepreneur booked the space flight through a U.S. company, Space Adventures, which has previously sent 7 tourists to the space station on Russian vehicles. So it's funny that it's a U.S. company that has now worked with the Russian space agency, sending up U.S. tourists to the ISS via their rockets, right? It's kind of sad. You would think that money would...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. I thought he would have. Why wouldn't he have used SpaceX? It sounds like he's got a good relationship with Elon, but apparently, he needs to get up sooner. So he just spends the top dollar and goes up on the Soyuz.
I guess so. Apparently, you don't want that money going to America, right? It says, I am excited to share every aspect of my journey with everyone on Earth, Mezewa said in a statement before the launch. Notably, Mezewa's, and if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, ISS visit comes after he booked a trip on the to the moon with SpaceX with his project called Dear Moon that was announced in 2018. He plans to fly 10 to 12 people on SpaceX's Starship rocket for a multi-day trip that would reach lunar orbit. Mezewa saying that he will pay for the entire journey. So millions of dollars, I'm guessing. This is, of course, something that SpaceX Elon Musk offered in 2018, or says he's offering. And this is something that we've been talking about for a while. Obviously, there is a debate, even in our audience and with our mods. A lot of people have varying, views of space, because none of us have actually really gone. I have never been to space. I don't know anybody who personally has. I've had somebody comment and say that their family member is an astronaut, and I believe it. I'm sure that you know somebody that knows somebody that is one, and if they've been to space. But until people see it for themselves, I don't think that argument is going to be put to bed. As far as the stuff we've been covering is pretty crazy stuff. We're talking about China building a multi-mile long structure in space. We're talking about missions to the moon and to Mars. And by the context of it all, Elon Musk saying that it's civilization's only hope to survive and to thrive is to go to multiple planets, to be a multi-planet society. He believes civilization will crumble if we do not go on multiple planets. That is due because, remember, he was actually pulled in. Let me turn this down a little bit. He was actually pulled in for asteroid defense at first. A lot of his SpaceX expertise were used for that. He was doing interviews about 5 years ago on asteroid defense, and then all of a sudden they went quiet about that. Now, of course, you have NASA missions like DART, Double Asteroid Redirection Test, and all of these weird other missions by other countries like OSIRIS-REx and Hayabusa and all of these other asteroid-related ventures. And then, of course, you have movies, which, if you believe in anything kind of predictive programming, like you've got Don't Look Up, and that is actually pretty freaky when you think about it. I am still gonna do a video on it. As far as Don't Look Up, has all of these Academy Award winners. The director, who is known for doing real stories, as far as like true to life, based on real events. He is doing that film. And even in the trailer, it says based on real events that haven't happened, and then it pauses, and then it says yet. And it goes through them discovering a planet killer, and then the White House, who they almost make look like a kind of the last administration with his son sitting there saying, haha, yeah, sure. And then they all laugh about it, and they're saying, hey, this is got a 100% chance of hitting us. And they show the White House basically saying, well, we'll wait and assess. We'll sit and assess. We'll sit and spin, basically. And then they end up saying, they show another scene later on saying, showing this board of this meeting of everyone talking about how much this planet killer would be worth in gold and materials. And it's kind of funny because we have literally talked about this exact thing. Why has the last couple years just filled up with talk about mining asteroids? It's something straight out of Armageddon. Like, are we landing on asteroids, going to mine them, send the stuff back? Of course, they've talked about all these articles that have basically said that one of these asteroids would make everyone a billionaire on the planet, this kind of stuff. You've seen those articles, and that's because they're talking about it. So it just freaks me out that it doesn't so much freak me out. I just think it's really kind of interesting that the guy who does the movies, who he's best known for his true to life kind of based on real events, is doing this movie, has all of these high profile friends, including he's his friends with presidents, and he's actually, a lot of people think he's in the know. He's got friends in these weird places, especially high-ranking military. And some of the credits on the movie as far as the consultants. And then, of course, NASA tweeting out the movie itself. I thought that was even an odd twist in it. NASA actually tweeted it out. And then the director talked about DART, double asteroid redirection test, and did a video on Twitter and tweeted that out. So feel free to go over to their Twitter and check that out. It's really weird. Meanwhile, here on Earth, we've got a lot of drama going on, so we'll talk about that. A lot of possible hacks, a lot of possible movement militarily. We have a ton going on, so stick around. We're going to get into that here in just a minute. Van City Prepper, thank you so much from Canada. Thank you for popping in and supporting. And then that Gen X dude, God help us when whoever flips the switch. One love, Marfia and Foogle fam, stay swifty. I love it. And then Paul, thank you for supporting as well. Appreciate that. You can always write a message there. And then Ariel, the Wrestling Mermaid, says, out of this world episode, keep being awesome. Oh, it's going to get even crazier. We're talking about some pretty out of this world stuff, that's for sure. And then Patriot Sugaree, thank you for subscribing. And then Blessed 1611, that very generous. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Been listening since you started. God bless you. Hey, thank you, and thank you for supporting us. I appreciate that. Brandon Clark, and then Patissa, thank you for your support as well. I appreciate each and every one of you here, and thank you for being patient. Of course, as you know, one or the both of us are doing family stuff. I personally took some of this time to get some of my ducks in a row. So I'm glad that you guys are back, and it's really awesome to see almost 3,300 this early in the show. So thank you. And then Delaware Sasquatch, thank you. 6 days ago, you were the last one out. I appreciate that, and I really do thank you guys for your support. And then this was freaky. I talked about this in the video. I briefly mentioned this, but just to go a little bit deeper into it, Elon Musk, hold on one second. Just want to fix this here. All right. So hopefully that makes it a little bit better. It says, Elon Musk says civilization is going to crumble if people don't have more children. I kind of gave my sort of an opinion on this. What do you think about this? I am going to open up the chat. I do want to see what people think about this. Once I read a couple parts of this, I want you to tell me what the first thing you think of when you hear this. And then, of course, I'll pick out a couple of those and we'll show those on screen. Because I think it would be good to see where everybody's mind is at. So I'm not going to say anything yet. For those of you who have not or did watch the video, don't say anything yet. Or if you have, it's okay. What do you think about Elon Musk, CEO, end of the world, talking about Elon Musk saying there are not enough people, Musk told the Wall Street Journal event on Monday. It says, I can't emphasize this enough. There are not enough people. And by the way, in this speech in real life, he is emphasizing it, and he is stopping, he's pausing, and he's very serious. It says the tech billionaire said low and rapidly declining birth rates are, quote, one of the biggest risks to civilization. It says his comments come as growing number of people have decided to not have children, citing concerns such as change and inequality. It says Musk added that too many good, smart people think there are too many people in the world and that the population is growing out of control. It's at 8 billion or whatever it is at right now, right? And it's growing. Well, apparently he thinks that that's not enough. It says it's completely the opposite, Musk said, urging people to look at the data. If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words. So are we going to crumble at 8 billion, or is there something that they know about that will take out a huge chunk of us? And if we have 10 billion, it would help because you have an extra 2 billion people to help the human race survive. There have been a lot of crazy theories, and again, these are farther on the crazier end. But some people think that they are even trying to push a kind of a tracking system for every person here on Earth. And the craziest one I heard is that if you could possibly get a tracker onto every human being on Earth, every country in the world, that civilization would have a better chance after a massive event, whether it be a nuclear war or whether it be an asteroid hitting Earth that sends a tidal wave or whatever around. You would say, well, what about the satellites? What about all that? Again, if it was conflict related, then satellites could be knocked out. That would explain why they put this emergency bill in. And I'm not saying that I believe this, but again, we talked about this emergency bill that put up stratospheric balloons, and these stratospheric balloons actually acted as satellites. And they said within 45 days of this bill getting passed, they would get it going and they would have it up and running. It seemed to me, and then Dex, let me ask you this. When we talked about the stratospheric balloons and the satellites, they said it was used for basically communication when no other means are available. What did you think about that?
Well, I mean, when it first came around, they had used examples of other countries that lost or shut down their internet for various reasons, typically around political unrest and
like
things
Cuba.
Like that. They would shut down their internet, and they would say having these balloons will give you a means of having communication when that internet is shut down for whatever reason. So it's like an alternate way of communicating or a backup strategy.
And specifically, people took the example of, I believe it was Cuba, that had their internet shut down by their ruler, and everybody was pissed off about it. And, am I right, or am I going in the wrong? I thought it was Cuba.
Oh, no, you're right. There was that one. There was probably like 30 or 40 other countries that all did it too. But yeah, Cuba was the example they used.
Yes, so they actually people. I remember actually now that I think about it, I said I said that it was in general, and people said this is just a bill related to Cuba. In fact, that's right. People commented and they said they were like, "No, you're dumb. This is just for Cuba." And I'm like, "No. If you look at it, it's for anywhere in the world. If a power turns off the internet, there's much kind of deeper hole here because." You have President Obama putting in the kill switch back in his presidency, or basically altering an older law to basically kill the internet and direct everything towards one source. In fact, over the last 3 presidents we've had, or 4 presidents actually, 5 presidents I think. Yeah, I think 5 presidents have all put kind of a little step up onto the emergency services type situation, and they've tweaked laws and they've tweaked things. They've done emergency orders and things like this to put through a system to where if there was an emergency, we would see a situation like what was shown on the movie Greenland. Now, Greenland was a fictional kind of tale of an asteroid hitting Earth, but there was a very real system there. The presidential alert. They actually showed that on the screen. It said presidential alert, and it specifically marked the Gerard Butler character in that movie, and it said his name. It showed up on his TV, and it showed up on his cell phone. Meanwhile, all of his neighbors who did not have a trade skill and were not needed for the repopulation of Earth, they were not notified. Now, that's a crazy idea, but that's actually what they've practiced doing with this system. And some think that even the test a couple years ago, in fact, to use the doomsday test, the doomsday broadcasting system, that's what they call the presidential alert. It would basically be used in the event of an Armageddon, a national emergency, or something that had to get out to every person in the country quickly, or possibly the world, they even said. And in that instance, they only selected few. Back when they did that test, only certain people got it. But even Walmart prepaid phones got it. Meanwhile, some other people didn't. And a lot of people were questioning how well it was working, or questioning if that was on purpose that not everybody got it. Maybe it was selected people, and they ended up doing a survey. One of our viewers sent me a picture of basically this survey that said, "Did you get the message, and did it show your name?" So that means they did exactly what they did in the Gerard Butler film Greenland with that very test. Not everybody got a one that was by name. Some people got the general alert or the test, and then some got one with a name on it. So that's pretty crazy. And they selected I guess a sample group to do a survey on it. So very interesting. If you were selected in that, or if you remember that 2018 alert, I want to say it was October 3rd of 2018. Let me know. So yeah, let's see here.
Back to Musk though. Does this really put him against those who put up the guidestones? Is he really coming out against that?
Yeah. So which the guidestones say a maximum population of what, 500,000? So.
Yeah, it's obviously the folks who, there's a lot of talk in the theory world that the elite want to, reduce population. I think it was even said in this article for various reasons. So he's speaking exactly the opposite. So is that putting him against them? Should we look at one elite versus a different elite when we're looking at this, or is he just being Elon and trolling the media?
Well, by the way, Dex, let's see if I can. Let me see if I can pop this up. He did a very. Hold on. Oh, I guess I did not tweet. It was sitting there waiting to be tweeted. I'm going to show you Twitter. Elon Musk. Did you see his recent tweet? In fact, it was just a few minutes ago. Let's see here. I believe it was a few minutes ago. It might have been a few hours. So let me show you. So. It has a picture. Now, if anybody has, in fact, I'm going to open up the chat, see if you guys know. If I didn't recognize this. What symbology do you see in it? I see at least a couple symbols here. I see kind of Martian creatures on the ground, and then I see this huge kind of alien god figure in the sky. It says 4 kilobytes of RAM in 1969. We put people on the moon. It says 8 gigabytes of RAM now. Chrome tab scary. Okay, so obviously this is a joke, right? But what is behind it? It shows NASA being this being. What in the world is this? So I want to pop open the chat. Who does anybody? Somebody said, Maria says it is Masonic. Elon is being used like a puppet, says Dame Von Daisy. We've got Tiger 13 for us, says trust no one. Daniel R says never went to the moon. The moon? Huh. In fact, I don't know if that's, well, that says we put people on the moon. Maybe he's making that point. I don't know. Anunnaki. By the way, so... somebody is saying Satan, demon, Antichrist, fallen angels, NASA run by aliens. Ooh, that's a good one. So Sandy 333, why is the chest still broken? A lot of people on DLive are talking about that. I don't know either. It says he is due to be a trillionaire. That was Patricia Furlong. Okay, so back to that. If you remember, they used to. If you know those birthday cards that sing a song, if they say happy birthday or they say a stupid little saying, they say that the computing power in the chip inside those birthday cards that we have in our Hallmark or at our Safeway now, they say that is as much computing power as the lunar lander had in 1969. That's not a joke. The lunar lander, the computer inside that, has as much computer power as one of the chips inside of a Hallmark card now. There are a lot of good reasons why people wonder why we stopped going to the moon, what happened. That brings up the movie Moonfall brings up an interesting kind of predictive programming scenario where they show the 2 minutes that we lost contact with the lunar lander. In that movie, they are proposing that it was an actual kind of weird abyss-like alien that came and said hello to the lander people, and that the whole moon was actually a satellite, and it had like a gyrosphere inside. It's a new blockbuster coming out, another huge movie, and it shows the moon hitting Earth. Another movie that basically depicts the end of the world from something from space hitting. Some even take it as kind of a planet thing hitting, right? So what do you think about that? What do you think about this? Says that's our hard-earned dollars being stolen out of our wallets. Elon saying we are in a simulation and it has grown in time from 4 kilobytes to 8 gigabytes. Oh, that's actually pretty good. Sorry, I missed who said that. That was actually pretty good. So Elon also is famous for saying that we may be in a simulation. So that actually kind of makes sense. Damn Death Star. Have we enacted HR Bill 5123 yet? I'm guessing that is the balloon act. We should check on that. Dex, can we check on the balloon act? Oh, maybe 5123 is a different one. But if we can, let's check up on that, because remember it was supposed to go in and actually they were talking about if it was going to pass or not. That was our last update. It's
5123. Is it the state the Senate or House?
HR 5123 is what gentleman in the chat said, I believe. Let's see here. And then Photism's Coop says could be the lack of technology that allowed us to pass through the Van Allen radiation belt. Oh, that's an interesting thought. So as we had more technology, we couldn't get through. And then Elon Musk said Neuralink hopes to start. We'll check on that. We'll get back to you. Elon Musk said Neuralink hopes to start implanting its brain chips in humans by 2022, later than he anticipated. Yeah, that's later than he anticipated. So he was hoping it would be done this year. So he is saying that Neuralink is going to be in human brains basically in a few months or in a matter of months, because we are now a few weeks away from 2022. This is pretty insane. If you don't know what Neuralink is, it's going to connect our brain directly to computer. It is a brain interface technology, and it hopes to start implanting its microchips into human beings next year. It says Neuralink, co-founded by Musk in 2016, is developing a chip that would be implanted in people's brains to simultaneously record and stimulate brain activity. It is intended to have medical applications such as treating serious spinal cord injuries and neurological disorders. So think about that. You might even possibly see somebody who has never walked to walk again. During a live streamed interview, the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit on Monday, Musk was asked what Neuralink planned to do in 2022. Musk said Neuralink's working well in monkeys, and we're actually doing just a lot of testing and just confirming that it's very safe and reliable, and the Neuralink device can be removed safely. It says he added, we hope to have this in our first humans, which will be people that have severe spinal cord injuries like tetraplegics or quadriplegics next year, pending FDA approval. It says Musk said that Neuralink standards for implanting the device are substantially higher than what the FDA requires. Musk reiterated that the 2022 timeline in a post on Twitter. It says, quote, progress will accelerate when we have devices in humans. Hard to have nuanced conversations with monkeys next year. So as far as that's another company that he is part of. As far as SpaceX, you have Tesla building batteries and possibly preparing for a power outage, putting his batteries, his giant, he's now working with actual power companies and actual grids basically providing these giant batteries to back up in the case of a power outage or a severe, situation where power goes down. These batteries would back it up. So he's involved with the government on the Tesla level with the batteries. He's involved with the government on Neuralink, and I can't imagine what they're going to do with soldiers and Neuralink. The Boring Company, he is involved in digging tunnels for cities, and who knows what else, military, deep underground military bases, DUMBs. And then SpaceX, he is launching U.S. Soldiers, and they have Space Force basically centered around it. So think about how connected the guy is. So that it is crazy to see him troll or tweet or, send out these weird things. Speaking of which,
and Adam, real quick, the HR 5123 was the bill we were talking about. I just didn't know the number. Also known as Operation Starfall, and nothing's new on that as far as its movement in Congress. But it is in the Armed Services Committee.
Which is, wait a second, so who else is in the Armed Services Committee? Senator Roger Wicker, the same gentleman we'll be talking about today, basically saying that nuclear first strike is on the table right now. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. It says China's Lunar Rover spots mysterious hut on the side of the moon. Many people have been talking about this for the last couple of days. We, of course, were not, because we weren't on. But I did watch. I've seen several videos. Of course, Tyler and other people have covered this. But I want to say there's some other stuff that I think that goes along with this. So there's a show called What on Earth? And if any of you have seen this, let me know, because it's a really, really interesting show. And basically it goes through all of these satellite photos that they have multiple experts, military experts, scientific experts. They look at these satellite photos of Earth and they find these weird things, and also pictures of the moon and different things. They look at pictures and they try to guess at what it is. There were pictures of some sort of secretive farming going on in China, and they specifically had an argument whether it was basically trying to make some biological experiment there, or if it was farming ginseng or farming other things. But some believed that it was actually a test subject, that it was a test experiment for their farm that will be on the moon. They say that they want to start farming on the south side of the moon, the dark side of the moon. And some think that this very, very secretive covered fertile area that they've been doing all this covered planting and growing is actually an experiment for being able to do farming on the moon. So keep that in mind when you're reading this and the official narrative and everything else. They say that they've already gone to the south side of the moon, or the dark side of the moon. And again, why did they go to the dark side of the moon? That was never clearly answered. They sent a thing there and then they went back. Why? Why is the dark side of the moon not, why are they choosing that? Are they building something there? Think about what kind of tests you could do on the dark side of the moon. Think about what kind of, nuclear tests or biological tests you could do on the moon. And there would be zero risk of something getting out. Say if you wanted to, create a biological agent or something, or if you wanted to test weapons that you wanted absolutely no one to see, that would be a place to do it. If, of course, you believe they're even capable of going, right? It says China's U-2 rover has spotted a mysterious object described as a hut or house on the far side of the moon, according to a recent log of the lunar rover's activities. It says U-2 encountered the cube-shaped object while driving across the von Karman crater last month during the mission's 36th lunar day. according to a post published by R Space, a Chinese media affiliated with the China National Space Administration. It says the rover, which landed on the far side of the moon in January 2019, sent back images of the object on the horizon. According to the post, the rover was located 80 meters away, about 262 feet, and is expected to reach the site in another 2 or 3 months of trekking. So, pretty crazy here. I mean, if you were to say that there was going to be some sort of evidence of anything unnatural on the moon, I would think that this would be a pretty good one. As you can see, there's an item there. As far as, I don't know if there's a higher definition picture of this, but what I see is somebody mooning the camera. It actually looks like it could be round or natural, but that's just judging off of this low quality picture. Dex, have you seen this picture in high def? Like, does it show that it's absolutely square, or could this be a moon rock? Or,
well, they certainly refer to it as a hut just due to its shape. It certainly could be a rock that's shaped that way. We don't know, but yeah, it definitely has that square sort of cut to it when you look at all of the images that I've seen.
now, otherwise, could this be these bubbles that they plan, these kind of biodome things that they plan on farming in? Anyone who's seen any of the plans from, any science fiction movie, you've seen those kind of domes that they have connected by kind of pathways, right? So could this actually be one dome behind the other, and it's got, kind of like Epcot Center kind of dome, or, a golf ball kind of dome, and one is behind the other? I don't know. It definitely looks like there's shadow in between, in the middle. Like there's a specific line. Maybe people are saying that looks like a door, or that's why some people say it's a shack or a hut. I don't know. Either way, it is very interesting, and I'm sure we won't get the answer anytime until after this rover gets there, supposedly gets there.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got 2 months in the next 2 months, we'll probably see more pictures, or this rover will mysteriously break down and no longer be working.
Yeah, it'll get 50 feet away and the camera will go out, and then you'll see a flash, and you'll see Mr. EpiPen sitting there with Maxwell, and like, oops. We have technical difficulties. Please forget you just saw Epstein. Carol McLean says, love your site. I can't get enough info. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you for using it. Lance JC, aren't we all about having babies in increased population? Need more numbers to replace the slaughter. AI and Depop. Breed like rabbits, LOL. Lance, that's what I'm saying. As far as, why do we need more people? Is there going to be an event that takes away a ton of us? Obviously, if you are kind of more, I guess, into this stuff, and you've dug down enough holes, especially in the last couple of years, newbies probably wouldn't know about this, but the Deagle report, which now the Deagle report, Edwin J. Deagle actually died. He passed away last year. That report says that we're going to lose, or his projections say that we'll magically by 2024, 2025, we'll somehow lose 2/3 of our population here in the U.S. It oddly shows that all of our allies lose population as well. Meanwhile, it coincides, it shows our enemies like China and Russia actually gaining. Now, you go, well, who cares what this stupid website says? Edwin J. Deagle not only was on like 5 different committees, he was like basically a part of 5 different presidential administrations. He did statistics. That was his expertise. He took data from everything, and he was somebody who would, his data would be given up to the very top levels. And what he did is he took data from everything around the world, around peace surveys, around the doomsday clock, and basically everything, all sorts of pieces of information, including NATO and UN information, and that's how he got that statistic. So he took into account all of the events, recent events, all of the kind of tension between countries. And for some reason around 2024, we would lose 2/3 of our population, and many of our allies, Western allies, would have these huge population drops as well. Why? Was he foreseeing something? Did he know about a plan that nobody else knew? I can't interview him now because he passed away last year. But his specialty and what he did, it's really creepy to think about, especially knowing what he did and the people he knew. I did a whole show on it. If you look up Deagle and Marfoogle News, you'll find I did a whole show detailing about his life and his background, and it was really interesting stuff. And then Zenwen AZ, thank you. That Gen X dude, resistance is futile. Yes, as the Borg said, right? Linda L, Vibron, thank you so much. Linda L, welcome to the Marfia. I appreciate the subscription. If you do subscribe during the live show, you will get a shout out. Nearly 5,000 watching on YouTube, and probably another 800, 700 on D Live, I'm assuming. End Times is in the house over there. Looks like fallen angels. Speaking about the Elon Musk. And then Zippy Moons, thank you for the Ninja Genie. Thank you guys for supporting over on D Live. I really appreciate the D Live crew. Even though D Live is having a couple issues here and there, they have the best people over there. Again, thank you. Sammy Lee, Lead Dispenser. Thank you, Gem and Jammer One, for modding there. Lisa K, thank you so much. CDK, I appreciate that. Hey, nice to see you here. Thanks. From again, I always see your stream, and I try to pop in, but you're usually just running something. Sammy Lee, thank you. Dangers 112233. LinkedIn, thank you Minklin, thank you for joining. Thank you for following over there. Charity 1956, Cookielicious, and Carolina Roots. What is going on? Thanks for popping up over there. So we're going to play a message from Tom Homan, former ICE director, and then we are going to get on about the earthquakes. The Northwest has had over 50 earthquakes in a swarm that a lot of people are talking about right now. So we'll go there in just a second.
My name is Tom Homan. I'm the former ICE director under President Donald Trump, and I'm here to ask America to wake up. You can protect yourself, and at the same time protect this great nation. The threat of electromagnetic pulse is real. EMP.
Don't know.
If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's a matter of life and death. I recently partnered with a Midwest company, veteran-owned, that has developed a device you can hook up to your home or your vehicle to protect you against an EMP. I highly encourage you to go to empshield.com and research this device. Again, it will protect you, in the long term, protect this great nation. Thank you.
It's probably taking too much memory because we have that tab open with EpiPen's face on it. His head is so big, it takes up a lot of RAM. And then if you don't know what an EMP Shield is, we've been telling people about this way before EMP Shield even was working with us. Again, I've warned people, and so have other people in this community. EMP is one of the most likely out of the... we all look at statistics and odds and things that are kind of higher on the list and lower. EMP is one of the ones that makes the most sense. That is why it is the highest risk. They say 90% of the people here just in the U.S. would perish if we suffered an EMP by another country, let alone if we do have a massive solar storm. It could be the entire world that is to suffer from that. We are supposed to have another solar system or a CME, a Carrington level event happen. That is guaranteed. That happens on average every 150 years. It's been 160. This can protect against both of those. But back to it, though, it's like this is one of the most likely, because if a country hits us with an EMP, we can't escalate and go higher than that. Knocking out our power would basically knock ourselves out. With as much division and as much as people are divided and completely separated, we're already tearing each other apart without the infrastructure set up as far as police and firemen and everybody else that are now gone because of a certain thing that just, magically popped up. I mean, it really seems like a lot of this stuff, hate to say, but seems like it's like something's getting ready, right? But on top of that, as far as EMP, this is something that if they hit us with it, by the rules of war, we're supposed to hit them back with it, or something that's along the same lines. We can't just, nuke an entire country because they knock out our power, or at least that's how it's, supposedly supposed to work. So if you do want to protect yourself, there is an answer to this. Emp Shield is the same company that under T-Man's administration, the last administration, was hired by DOD, DHS, and of course the DEMSO team to help protect the Texas grid. So if you want an official answer to how to protect yourself against EMP, this is a good one because it can do it from the root. Again, this grounds the signal to anything that it is wired into before it can fry your device. This is a surge protector on crack. This can do it. Can ground the signal in a picosecond, not a microsecond, not a macrosecond, a picosecond. It is absolutely the best protection you can get, as far as the same protection that you can get that the military is also using. EMP protection against all three phases: E1, E2, and E3, and it can protect you up to 228,000 amps from solar flare. Again, lightning protection as well. That's just like a bonus. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and you will get $50 off per device. You can put one on your generator, one on your house, one on your car, one on your RV, your motorcycle. They even make one for solar systems, solar generators, and even ham radios. Again, this helps us out and it helps us continue. At the same time, it gives you a fat discount and it allows us to keep growing. So thank you everybody that has already done so. And this is going to save lives if this happens. Veteran-owned business. All right. Not to mention they're really cool people and they actually are in the community. All right, Dex, let's talk about these earthquakes. So this is something that is close to home, literally, because this is something that will literally affect me. And I have moved twice to be further away. And some people hearing that would be like, are you kidding? Like, normal people that don't think about this would think that that is extreme. But one of the places I was staying, the map shows it underwater, even if there was a tinier earthquake. So as far as a 9.0 with a guaranteed tsunami, which the Cascadia, if we have a full margin rupture, it will be a guaranteed tsunami. To the likes of what India, of course, what Japan saw in their 9.0 earthquake. You're talking about a 5-minute earthquake. Dex, you wouldn't have to worry, but who knows? Maybe you would.
But wouldn't we feel it here? Didn't you say the people all the way across America from different parts can actually still feel that earthquake? 2,000
to 3,000 miles away. So yeah, you would feel it. New York might even feel it. But in fact, it will kind of be like, do you remember a couple years ago we covered that earthquake that I want to say it was in California, the one that was under the military base. Just so happened that it was at a weapons testing facility. It was centered like 20 miles directly under, or 20 kilometers or whatever. And people felt that in the middle of the country. It's like, yeah, I guess that's kind of crazy. You will probably feel it in Georgia. So this swarm is very alarming, and it's the placement. It says more than 50 earthquakes have struck off the Oregon coast between Thursday and Wednesday, with the largest two reaching magnitudes 5.8, so nearly a 6.0. Each little point, it magnifies this, and it's exponential. So the jump from 5.0 to 6.0 is exponential. It's a giant leap. Every single point times is that. It's really, really incredible. That's why they say, a magnitude 7 earthquake here would last about 60 seconds. A 9.0, which is 2, full points up, that is a 5-minute earthquake. So it starts getting exponentially stronger to the point where you're talking about how mountains are made. How mountains are made in a minute, right? Whoosh, and then just a piece of land shoots up. If you don't know about the Cascadia subduction zone, I highly recommend you do research right now. Again, there are 2 plates, the one that the United States is sitting on, and then the Marfoogle plate. These 2 plates are interlocked and they're grinding, and some say that they've been stuck and not moving for a long time. And official sources say that they already expected this to happen. I know this because I know one. Not to mention, I've talked to one of the leading experts on this, and again, this is something that they feel is overdue. It happens on average every 240 years. It is now 320 years past the last one. The last one happened exactly 321 years ago in the year 1700. When it goes, it's going to be out in the water, and it's going to displace water, not just in one little place. This isn't a local earthquake. This isn't an earthquake that say, happens in, let's just take Los Angeles, right? An earthquake that happens in Los Angeles and centered under Los Angeles. As you go farther out, if you go 20 miles out, you can feel, say it's a 7.0, you can feel like it feels like a 5.0. You go another 20 miles out, it feels like a 4.0. You go another 20 miles out, they didn't even feel it. That's not the kind of earthquake. This is an earthquake. This is a full margin rupture. This is a fault. This is a subduction zone. And what it is actual plates going all the way from Canada to the top of California. So it's basically, instead of like a little tiny fault, this is the whole United States going like this. They say that if you are standing on the waterfront, of Seattle, and you're just standing there looking at the sunset and it happens, you will then be jolted 45 feet in one direction. All of a sudden, you'll be standing 45 feet away from where you are now. Think about that. Think about the average house isn't even that wide, right? You'll be, again, to put that into perspective, 10 yards is 30 feet. You're talking about, 15 yards away. You will be 15 yards. You haven't moved, the entire country has. And then on top of that, all that is water being displaced all along from Canada all the way to California. Think about the drive from, say, Washington to California, 18-hour drive. Or whatever, 10 if you're speeding like hell, right? Either way, it's a long, long road trip. Every stop along that is going to feel the same earthquake. It's not going to be like, oh, it feels like this up here and this down here. Somebody standing in Oregon will feel the same earthquake that somebody feels in Washington. Somebody at the top of California will feel the same 9.0 5-minute earthquake that the person in Seattle will feel. And then a wall of water will rush over. And this is not to be fear-mongering. This is nature. Like, if you're a grown adult, you should realize, like, there's some pretty scary stuff that this earth does. Whether you think it's a piece of paper or a ball, either way, earthquakes are something that are really, really scary. So I hope that people look at these. When the last one that happened, it was just one. This is a swarm of 50. There was a 6.2 that was on the very crack of the Cascadia subduction zone. It was right out from, I want to say Seaside, but it was like a smaller, less known city, straight out and where the Cascadia fault line was. This is a swarm of 50. So this is the thing. Nothing is guaranteed. But right now, we have a really, really kind of all of the all of the percentages have gone up, especially just right in this little time period. If there are big earthquakes like this, or if there's a swarm of a lot of these, that means that people should be on alert for a full margin rupture. We could do 20 years straight of this happening. Every time this happens, you should be on high alert, because the percentage of this thing happening sooner than later goes up. And then hopefully, if it releases tension and then it goes back down, then we'll be good. But right now, people should have go bags. Like I said in my other video, what was really alarming when I went to FEMA Region 10, the headquarters of FEMA here, he said, the actual employee said that there were no supplies, that they would have to, they're required to, because they don't have the stuff here, they would have to get out of state help. To put this in perspective, 21 states are preparing for Cascadia subduction zone. Most people are saying, well, but isn't it just on the 3 states on the West Coast? Yes. So it's going to be so big that Arizona is actually putting in legislature and actually putting in these different things. They are preparing for people to be walking from California after the big one. Walking. I can't stress how big this earthquake is going to be. 21 states, basically the entire left half of the country, expects, if they're not directly affected by the earthquake, they're going to be affected by the people leaving it. We're talking about an event that humans can't even fathom. When you saw the videos of Japan getting rushed with the tsunami, that was one thing, but then like it's another for it to happen all along populated areas, the entire West Coast, and it's closer. Japan was a fault line that they didn't even, subduction zone they didn't even know about. This one is a new fault line. It's not new. We didn't know, and we didn't put together all the pieces. We didn't have proof and evidence, and now it's solid. There are no arguments in the scientific world whether this is going to happen or not. They didn't have proof and all of this put together until just a couple decades ago. And they built civilizations all along the coastline. There are the Thunderbirds, the local hockey team, is actually named after a legend that is supposedly because the Native Americans that were here before us had the Cascadia subduction zone happen, and they had a whale, which I believe the whale was so far inland, it was like 20 miles inland, and they thought that a thunderbird, carried the whale in. That some sort of, magical bird carried this whale 20 miles in and dropped it. So I believe that's the legend of like the Thunderbird or whatever else, and it's related to Cascadia. In Japan, they had a tsunami in the year 1700 that was a result of ours, and theirs was recorded. So we do actually have people that were recording evidence in history, and they had a gigantic tsunami. So it's not only going to affect us, it's going to affect Japan, it's going to affect, pretty much everybody. So just want to put that out there. And for anybody, if you've already know all of this and you're like, oh, I already heard it already. There are a lot of people that don't know. I talk to people about the big one in Cascadia subduction zone. Most people don't even know what Cascadia is. They think it's a drink or a water. I'm not kidding you. I've talked to so many Seattleites, people that live here in one of the danger zones. And I've talked to people in Portland, and I've talked to people in Salem and all of these different places. They think it's a water. I go, no, subduction zone. They're like, is that the place you get it? You say the really big one, about half of the people get that, and they go, oh, the big earthquake. Yeah. So again, just crazy. Places like Ocean Shores, which can have up to 300, 400, 500,000 people in it. They have a population of 5,000, which again, that population is dead when this happens. That place is going to be 100 feet underwater. The highest point in town is like 60 feet. The entire place is going to be underwater. Everybody's dead. Their death projections are based on the 5,000 people that live there, not the 500,000 tourists that are there pretty much all the time. So you get a summer day where there's 500,000 people staying in all the hotels. That's 505,000 people gone like that. There's only one road out of town. Something that they're just not talking about. Oh, and guess what? They've got 3 or 4 cops in the whole town, and they don't have a plan. The cop that I talked to said that they haven't done a single thing about it. That should be a scandal. So anyways, I've done videos. Go throughout my videos. You'll see the stuff that I did in Ocean Shores. Some of the drone video I took. I mean, it's really scary. Those people they understand that they're going to die. The people in town say when they hear the tsunami alarm, they're basically saying goodbye to their loved ones because there's no way out. Once you get everybody on the road, it's totally stopped. It's one road in, one road out. Even if you do 2 lanes, turn both of them out, there's no way. It's a tiny, wavy road for 25 minutes. Just craziness. So to sum up, I hope everybody on the West Coast is ready for craziness because this eventually will come. This is something that you should just have in the back of your head and should be ready for. Carol McLean, thank you. I appreciate that. Vibron from Australia. Cray Slayer, Zenwen AZ, again, thank you. That Gen X dude, I appreciate you. Hope and Faith Family Farm. DJ Revenue, thank you. And then Truth Bites and CD, thank you for subscribing. The CIA is deep into cryptocurrency, director reveals. Dex, you know what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, another reason not to be in it.
Yeah, and by the way, so Dex is very pro crypto. He is a crypto, close to an expert, I would say. I mean, you've done it for years, and you've...
Not an expert, but I'm not shy from it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, this is interesting. For many, many years, everyone has always thought there's been a theory that the 3-letter agency was involved in the crypto space. Some saying that they were the inventors of Bitcoin, although nobody really knows. But having this bold statement come out from the director of the CIA is kind of putting a lot of people back into that tailspin of the conversation.
So to read what he's talking about, CIA Director William Burns said the agency has a number of different projects focused on cryptocurrency on the go. It says there's a long-running theory among a small number of cryptocurrency enthusiasts that Bitcoin's anonymous inventor, Satoshi Nakamoto, was actually the CIA or another 3-lettered agency. That fringe theory is having a fresh day in the sun after CIA Director William Burns said on Monday that the intelligence agency has a number of different projects focused on it. So... it says that Burns made his comments at the tail end of a talk at the Wall Street Journal CEO Summit after discussing everything from the possible Russian invasion of Ukraine to the challenges of space. Someone in the audience asked if the agency is on top of cryptocurrency, which is currently at the center of ransomware epidemic that U.S. officials are attempting to get a handle on and stamp out. Here's what Burns said. It says, "This is something I inherited. My predecessor had started this." That's kind of creepy. It said it like that. But had set in motion a number of different projects focused on cryptocurrency and trying to look at second and third order consequences, as well as helping with our colleagues in other parts of the U.S. government to provide solid intelligence on what we were seeing as well. Now, one thought I have, and I know there's a lot of pro-crypto people, including Dex, my best friend and co-host here. The crazy part about this is I've always thought it was weird that nobody knows who made it, right? And it blew up out of nowhere. I had a chance to buy it when it was $30. Guy told me about it. I said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I said, nobody knows who made it. It's not a physical item. Of course I'm kicking myself in the butt, right? I even had $1,000 Christmas bonus or something like that. I remember I had basically a extra $1,000 that I could have invested in it, and I didn't. I didn't buy a single one, right? Anyways, told me about it, I thought it was so crazy. I still to this day have a weird feeling about it because now even on the back end, theorists think that, you know, they're decentralizing, they're going away from it. If you put all of your money into a digital currency that goes down if the computers go down, that to me feels weird. And then, of course, you know, the rumors that nobody knows who actually started it and this and that. It's like things like this. And then that China was going to have a cryptocurrency that was gold-backed, decentralized, all of this, and that the U.S. was going to make a dollar cryptocurrency. And everybody thinks, in my mind, it's almost like everybody thinks that they're ahead of the game and that they're getting away from the government by doing this. What if you're actually stepping into a trap? And I'm just saying hypothetically, you know, thinking outside the box. Does anybody kind of agree with my hesitancy of this thing? You know, I said, they say that it can run even if 50% of the planet goes off, like all of the computers in half the world, or some, I think they've said like more, like they would only need like 20% or 30% or 40% of the computers running all over the world, and it would still keep that record of everything. I thought if we did have a CME or something, or just something that knocked out power of the entire planet for even one day, would that not wipe out everyone's fortunes and then everybody would be broke and set back to zero?
Well, wouldn't the same hold true for your banking accounts and your credit cards? I mean, unless you have your entire income in cash and it's, you know, you think, and that's going to be worth something when that happens. I think that sentiment holds true for just about anything because it's all digital. I think the real thing about, you know, to me in the crypto and where they were going with this, a lot of folks are saying, oh, well, if it was invented by the 3-letter agency, it's all, you know, it's garbage. It's all going to go away. Nobody's going to use it. I think fundamentally that's kind of wrong because what you look at, or what people look at when it comes to cryptocurrency, it's not just Bitcoin. It's the whole notion of having this ledger that's distributed, that's irrefutable, so that you can have a history of everything that's ever happened. And even if the power goes out, when it comes back on, it picks up right where it left off. So everything's still there, right? Unless the whole earth is scorched, and at that point, it's irrelevant.
Okay, but what if there's a back door that it looks so solid from the algorithmic properties of it? What if somebody had a back door to just take all the money after a certain amount of time?
Well, that's just one of 1,000 cryptos out there. I mean, if one is bad, then no one will use it. It's sort of like saying tennis shoes are bad because we don't, you know, if somebody doesn't like Nike. Well, there's 5 other companies they're just as big that make tennis shoes, and you know, tennis shoes are good when you need to go running, right? So,
I guess, but Bitcoin is what made it famous, right? Bitcoin is why people know. Bitcoin is why people know about it. Ethereum and all that came later.
Right, but if Bitcoin went away, the others wouldn't just instantly go up in smoke. They may lose some value, but they still exist. They're physical, in a sense, on the computer world. They're digital systems that run and they actually perform a service.
Well, okay, think about this. So if you didn't know this, they tracked down money, and I guess they did it through the third party. So some of these ransomware hackers hacked a huge company. They demanded, hey, we want $50 million. The company paid $50 million in crypto, and they thought, oh, they're in the clear. Is it or is it not true that the FBI or some government agency was able to stop that and track those transactions and get some of that money back?
Yes, and they're able to do it because it is a public ledger. So when transactions happen in Bitcoin or in other cryptos, that ledger is public and you can see where it goes. So what they did was intercept it with someone who had control over it. So when a ransomware was paid and it went to one wallet, and then that wallet sent it to an exchange wallet, they were able to go into that exchange, which is now our company, and tell that company, hey, we just noticed all this laundered money or all this illegal money came in. Freeze it and redirect it, please, because it was in their control, not the criminal's control.
I guess it seems like they shouldn't be able to do that if it was, I get it. There's so many people that are just, this is a trigger for them because they know so much about it. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to pretend I am. And I guess, do you hate me for not having faith in it and having more faith in gold and in physical items, having actual items? Do you hate me as somebody who loves crypto? I know you don't, Dex, but saying in general, people are the crypto. Here's one thing: the crypto. I just said on Twitter, there's like Crypto Batman, aka Batman, D-Live Batman. It has changed his life. Like, I've seen him go from kind of negativity to he was a self-proclaimed troll to somebody who absolutely has an awesome community. Same with the Joker. Kind of same kind of deal. Was kind of negative on D-Live, and he's turned himself. Now he's a positive part of the crypto community. And one thing I do see is crypto is like everybody is just they're all full of love to each other. It's something they all have in common. I don't know. I see really a lot of camaraderie among crypto enthusiasts. So I think that's cool. I think that it's changed people. I've seen them directly change. And if it's going to financially help people that were in a bad position then, and now they've learned how to use it and harness it and become financially, great, that's amazing. I just have a feeling that all of our power is going to go off, and that's what's always made me. That's what's always had me hesitant. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try to do it. I'll try at some point. Sad Guru, thank you. Scott Ziegler, thank you. ED Vet, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. Not all are written in the same languages. The ones to question are the layer 1 blockchains. No, I get it. And Ripple Effect says, Craig Wright just won a case that he is the creator of Bitcoin. Dex, could you look that up? Craig Wright.
Yeah, I've already seen it. He sued and he won a case, but it doesn't necessarily prove that he's the inventor. He just won a case about a claim that he was making. So yeah.
Huh. So, but what was the claim, that he invented it?
Yeah, I don't know the particular details, but that doesn't necessarily say that he was, it doesn't necessarily prove that he was, just because a court agreed with his case, if that makes sense.
Well, craziness ensues. Either way, I don't know. Escalating tensions in Europe are off the scale. Russia warns ahead of talks between, and of course we were had this going and ready for yesterday or the day before, I believe. It's gotten worse since, actually. Escalating tensions in Europe are off the scale. Kremlin warns as Ukraine accuses Moscow of sending extra snipers to its borders ahead of crunch talks between It says the Kremlin has warned that escalating tensions in Europe are off the scale, and the warning comes as Warsaw today accused Russia of deploying tanks and additional sniper teams near the Ukrainian border, and warnings Moscow could invade in weeks. This is a new warning that says weeks. We've had official intel that says in a couple months, January, February. Now we're talking early January if this warning is correct. Mind you, China has been preparing, doing all of the same drills for taking Taiwan. If they take both at the same time, even if we don't jump in, and by we I mean the U.S., other countries will. We very well could have a date set on WW3 if we actually step in for democracy. People go, well, doesn't mean that China is going to do Taiwan at the same time. It pretty much does. They've done drills, and it makes experts have looked at this, and it would make absolute and complete sense that they try to do it at the same time, because they're trying to sneak past the hall monitor, the USA. Combined, which, by the way, they've said that they are closest friends, that they are super best friends. This is a quote from, I want to say, Putin. Putin said, me and Xi are like this. We're so tight right now, it's not even funny. Their combined force is greater than ours in some ways. I believe our Air Force is still a badass thing to be reckoned with. But together, they are a huge force. Now, one thing that the list or the numbers that we went over did not account for is all of our numbers plus all of our allies. We have Europe, we have Australia, we have other countries in our kind of group that would be, somewhat of a force, right? But again, want to go back to that to talking about satellite photos. It turns out that Vietnam might be doing something for Russia. This is really weird because Vietnam and China have had these kind of back and forth bouts. And Vietnam, as you all know, we went to conflict there, and it was guerrilla warfare. It was extremely hard to get grips. They knew their land. They knew a lot of stuff. It was just a whole mess in general. But we do know that Vietnamese are very, very tough people, to say the least, right? Well, Vietnam, there was actual satellite photos of these extremely expensive gear and naval work and things that were being made. And it turns out that Russia is helping Vietnam in building a fleet of boats and things there. That's weird because China and Russia are closest friends. Vietnam and them are not close. And what's even crazier is you've got India, who does not get along with China. They've been fighting for years. Recently, they just threw each other off of the Himalayan mountains because they're still arguing about the border and who has control over the Himalayan mountains. Both of their maps say something different. China says it owns this part, and they say they own this part. The line is like one of those silly string, rubber bands, because it just keeps moving back and forth. All of a sudden, they're joining Russia in drills, and Russia is doing drills with China. And in some cases, now they're saying that last humongous drill included India, China, and Russia. 1.4 billion people population-wise. China, 1.4 billion people population-wise. Russia, between the three militaries, that is a massive force. Even without India, you have they would call it the new axis of evil. Russia's been spending money all over the world. They're building these secret forces, and a lot of it is Navy. China now has the largest Navy. You've got Russia amassing troops outside of Ukraine. At the same time, China is physically circling Taiwan and loading up tanks and troops and everything else. The one thing about China, too, a lot of people don't know this, but they have thousands and thousands and thousands of commercial fishing boat lookalikes that are actually part of their militia. The reason why there's a lot of positives to this. This is what happens. These big commercial fishing boats that are actually militarized with reinforced hulls, they will actually bash into other boats. They will turn off their transponders. They'll get into altercations because fishing boats are protected. Dex, did you know that the fishing class of boats in waters, as far as the laws go, fishing boats are protected?
Yeah, they have certain rules and regulations that give them more, protection.
So, and they know this. They have this huge secret Navy, and that's not even including their official numbers that are saying that they are the largest. We're talking about a whole secondary, their secret Navy. They call that because there's thousands. I want to say over 20,000. I thought I heard 12,000 at one point, but then I thought I heard something like 50 or 60,000 of these units, and they're commercial boats, militarized. My point is that Russia's doing the same thing, and they have been so close. They've been doing everything together. And now it just so happens that they're both doing the same kind of drills, the same mock-ups, and now they're physically at the borders of the country they want to take over. I mean, how straight up does this have to be? And people think, oh, it's just all a big distraction. The distraction is what you are dealing with from day to day. The distraction is the different restrictions stopping you from seeing grandma this Christmas. That's the distraction, in my opinion. Duchess of Carolina, thank you. Kelly2334, Sammy Lee, Kelly2334, thank you for popping in, and thanks again for your continued support. Mary XX, Kishara, Sammy Lee going nuts with diamonds over there. Thank you on D-Live. Global Impact, Red 1967, Bear Claws, and heading out, catch the replay in the morning. Peace and grace to all. Hey, Kelly, thank you, and I hope you do end up watching the replay. We got more stuff coming up. Life is Better on Stilts. I appreciate your support as well. Bloodzerbug, Matrix 45, and everyone else that just re-upped on their Marfia badge. Thank you. And then Jammer, thank you for gifting out Marfia badges. Make sure to put an M in the chat right now for all of the wonderful mods holding it down in the chat. They are keeping it an awesome and peaceful place. So when they say it's off the scale, and it very well could be in a couple weeks, that is why everybody's on high alert. That's maybe why there's rumors of it going to a higher DEFCON level. Almost think it's actually skipped a level. Global Impact says mods. Yes, thank you. Hey, thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Scooby-Doo Right, Twilight and Greifel, and Island by the Sea. Thank you, everybody that popped in, and thank you, everybody saying mods like The Major, Nikki, Joseph Newhouse, Rains World, Vegas Lots, Madalena, Holiday Kisser, Sassy, Melajamam, Satellite 10 second late. Thank you. LOL Wrenched Senate. Thank you. Hey, Vic, and then John Hurd. Thank you for that. President B and President P hold high stakes 2-hour call over Ukraine. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Well, yeah, they obviously got together on a video call. What's not reported, and you can get into what is reported in the article, but one of the things that wasn't reported in this article was that unfortunately, our president had some technical difficulties getting started, didn't have any audio, was trying to figure out, and then, obviously clicked the mute button and unmuted himself, and then he could talk. And then there's the Kremlin released this one photo early on that was just, like a picture of Putin sitting very sternly at a desk with JB in the video screen in front of him, and then JB is sort of had his hand up waving at him with a big smile on his face, and it didn't look right. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like really all that good. So yeah, it didn't come across as very stern, so to speak, from our leadership side.
Well, at least President B didn't turn himself into potato or something. I'm sorry, can't figure out how to get it off potato.
I'm not a cat.
Yeah, right? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about. In fact, it's funny. One of the Chris Star, a streamer on D-Live, she ended up going viral on TikTok. Her and Cincy were actually like doing a real conversation, and they did a parody of that real video where they were doing like an official like business meeting, and the woman couldn't figure out how to turn off the potato. Well, she did that, and like they did a perfect parody of it. It was really funny. It went super viral. Like I want to say millions on TikTok, just went off immediately. But it's so hilarious. You can accidentally turn on the filters and have yourself look like. To me, it's crazy to me that they're even doing a virtual meeting. They show these politicians meeting up here with all of the other politicians, and they're all like totally disregarding the rules. In fact, just recently in our web only, did you put the stuff about what's her face in the web only about not having a cover and saying that everybody's anti-cover?
Which one?
Well, I guess there's been multiple. It was in the last couple days. Basically, one of these politicians just said she didn't feel safe because everybody in Congress is an doesn't want to wear the cover, right? But then she's got tons of public pictures of her not wearing it in public spaces recently, like as far as like as recent as like last week, and it's just hypocritical, right? But anyways, it's like, why wouldn't they do an in-person meeting for something this serious? They're trying to put out the idea that it needs to be at that level, right? But yet 50,000 people can sit in a stadium or, watch a concert as long as they did this thing. Well, if both presidents have done that thing, why can't they meet in person? If you can go to a concert, right? But you have to have, protection. And I ain't talking about condoms, you know what I'm saying? All right, if you're still with us, it looks like 5,500 are still in chat. Thank you for being here. Please make sure if you are going to prepare, if you can, again, you can end up doing it through us. Go through and do what you were already going to do, but use our link, and that will help us out greatly. Here's the cool thing. You will actually get a discount with our code. You will get some of the best as far as long and short-term survival food from My Patriot Supply. I tasted a 7-year-old sample. It was absolutely amazing. Again, you'll get that at a discount and help your favorite channel at the same time. They have everything. This is a one-stop shop. If you like survival gadgets, gadgetry of any kind from the survival world, if you like survival books, if you like, of course, power options, they have everything. But for a very critical aspect of this, everybody should have water filtration. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. As far as water filtration, they have the Alexa Pure Pro. It is the most powerful gravity-powered water filtration system. Again, it is really, really amazing, and it is a lot more affordable than its competitors. Again, there are some names out there that are just astronomical for the same product. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that helps us out, and it helps you out as well. Thank you again in advance. And Dex, let's talk about the senator bringing up nuclear strikes. So what did you think when you first saw this?
Yeah, so it was a pretty bold statement. I mean, it is a politician. It's a U.S. politician. Obviously, it's a senator, and he's on the one of the committees. I think it's the Armed Services Committee in the Senate, which I guess is different than the other service committee we were talking about earlier, which was in Congress or in the House.
Senate Arms.
It's kind of it was interesting that he reiterated, I guess, the position that we, don't have a first strike nuke policy. In other words, we have no reason to take that off the table, and that we actually do have that option at any time. And obviously he stoked the fire, so to speak, in the public eye with talking specifically about using both troops and nukes as it relates to action against Russia. So that's kind of a big deal.
And what we are talking about, it says, military action could mean that we stand off with our ships in the Black Sea and we rain destruction on Russia military capability. It could mean that we participate, and I would not rule out that American troops on the ground. Do you know we don't rule out first nuclear action? Why did he say it like that too? He reiterated, he says, I would not rule out, and he said not American troops on the ground. Do you know we don't rule out first nuclear action? Why did he say it like that? Like, maybe this is like pounding their chest on our side, like to try to scare Russia, like we're for real or something. Maybe they told him to do it like that. I don't know. It says he also floats the idea of bombing Russian military assets and says he wouldn't even rule out a nuclear strike. Pretty extreme there, if you ask me. But again, this is the craziness that we are actually at. So again,
well, so what's even crazier is you think about all the times that in our past history when we have been on the brink of potential conflict at a level that might involve nukes. And from the cold conflict on, there hasn't been that much. We've had a lot of stuff in the ME, but that's been more tactical and non-nuclear, right? Obviously. But now we have this scenario where we're literally on the edge of potentially going toe to toe with one of our biggest nuclear adversaries. And, look who has their finger on the football, so to speak. And is that concerning?
Well, it's definitely a step up. If you want to watch this, you can always go to the website, find the article, and it's actually linked directly to this video and this tweet. And then, of course, U.S. steps up planning for potential evacuations from Ukraine as crisis deepens report. They're actually planning to help evacuate Ukraine. It says news of
when you start those types of plans, I mean, you don't plan that without some serious intel that's telling you there's about to be a conflict, right?
Somebody commented that it's going to be another proxy. We've just adhered and said we will send U.S. troops. It says the Pentagon, and that's U.S. troops against Russian troops. That's a conflict between us and Russia. That's not a proxy. That's not even sending weapons for them to use. That's us going. Big deployments. Watch for big deployments. Watch for any deployments, really. The Pentagon has been conducting more immediate planning for potential evacuations of U.S. diplomatic personnel and other American nationals from Ukraine in the event of a new large-scale Russian military intervention into that country. According to a report from CNN, at the same time, U.S. officials are warning that there may be limited options to deter the Kremlin from conducting such an operation. This news came ahead of a virtual summit between U.S. President JB and Russian President Vlad P. It says today over his brewing crisis, with intelligence assessments already warning that for weeks that Russia could launch a new invasion of its neighbor as soon as January. This is like Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State. These are the people that are saying this. It's like just nuts. And then Victoria Nuland, the Undersecretary for State Political Affairs, included details about U.S. military contingency planning in briefings to members of Congress on December 6th, 2021. It says the State Department would need to formally request support from the Department of Defense to carry out a so-called non-combatant evacuation operation. So this would be in the event we just help try to get people out and save them from dying, right? It says, because they call it a non-combatant evacuation operation. Wait a second. You know what's going to be really, really sad and just absolutely just infuriating? If they're able to evacuate like thousands or hundreds of thousands of people out of Ukraine with a so-called non-combatant evacuation operation, when the situation that they had in Afghanistan. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about fighting we're not talking about fighting the T cells here. We're talking about fighting another world power. And we would go in and get them out. That's what's contingency planned, right? Pretty nuts. Look at this. So this is the picture. Look at... Most people, even if you're a fan, are just kind of like... His approval ratings, by the way, are just in the toilet. Even people that are just hardcore left and most people are just basically like, okay, we're done with this guy.
They said Putin even smirked at him when he said hello after he got his microphone working.
Oh my gosh. This is hilarious. Now, it looks like he's in a courtroom or something. This doesn't look like the normal. I guess it's because there's a line there or something. I don't know what that is. I know, as you can see, that they've got
Putin. He was in his home in Sochi, in his retreat. I don't know where the president was.
God, look at these curtains. Like, even to imagine to have a house like this where, look at this thing. He's got like I don't even know what that is. It's got like a monitor mount that's on a, look at that table. Can you imagine being, oh my gosh, look at that thing. Can you imagine being rich like that? Just being able to like have, this is probably custom made by some country, but handmade by small people or something. I don't know. That's just nuts. And then, of course, China threatens the U.S. with retaliation over diplomatic boycott of Winter Olympics. So at the same time, all of these different countries are also calling for the boycott of the next Olympics, which are supposed to be in China. But of course, even if they did go off, they're talking about it would go off and it would only have people that lived in China attend. That's if it even happens, right? It says China threatens the U.S. with retaliation over diplomatic boycott of Winter Olympics. It says China has threatened the Xi administration with retaliation over its decision to impose a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, warning that the move could damage bilateral relations. The Xi administration said Monday it would not send an official United States delegation to the Beijing Winter Games as a statement against China's ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity in Xinjiang. It says U.S. athletes will still be allowed to compete in the games. Like, what kind of bull is this? Like, if you're going to boycott it, America shouldn't be there. Who else agrees with that? Like, they're just not sending an official guy that goes along with it. But our people are still going to compete in a Chinese country, and their actual claim is that we are supporting genocide. They're saying it out loud. And then, by the way, China, in their official mouthpiece, says that we're behind the V, right? And that we created it in a place here in Fort Detrick, and that we attacked them with a bio attack. This is what they told their entire people, everyone who lives in China. They directly told them through all of their main mouthpieces, the People's Daily, the Shenhuan, I'm missing one, South China Morning Post, all of them. They said, they put out this piece that was basically saying that we attacked them. And a lot of the people, especially the older folks, take that as gospel. So you have all of China thinking that this whole world event is on us, which who knows who is really behind it, but saying that we attacked them. And then they've done several events in the last few months even where they're taking school children that get this and they're taking them away without permission from parents and things like this. They are pissing the hell off of everybody in China. Oh, and they took away their video games. They took away their entertainment. They took away a ton of their global kind of events that they were doing, global communications. They cut off video game communications with games like Call of Duty and things like this. They are cutting out English speaking and English teaching in China. Overnight, they basically changed things to where these English speaking schools, which, by the way, BlackRock, one of the biggest companies in the world, it has a higher amount of money than all of the world governments besides the U.S. and China. You take U.S. and China out. BlackRock has more money than all of the countries, including Russia, than all of their GDPs combined. BlackRock has more money than that. And BlackRock is the investment firm that says, yeah, we're going to put all of our money into China. Well, guess what? So if China doesn't want English speaking there, they don't even want people learning English, why is one of the biggest companies here, the same one that owns parts of the V and everything else, in fact, 5% of two of them, why is the same company telling us to put money into a place that doesn't even want our language spoke? Think about that. And then that same money is going to buy things that are supporting genocide and creating commercial fishing boats to take out other democracies. It's like our retirement funds are literally funding our own takeover. Think about it. Dex, have you thought about that? It's like BlackRock is this is how bad it is. Soros is telling people that they're dumb for investing in China. Soros called out BlackRock.
Yeah, exactly. So, and is it possible that the fact that we're not sending diplomats is because there's a risk in sending them, just as much as there's a message?
Yeah, that could be as well. I guess we don't care about our athletes then, right?
Well, yeah, it's obviously a partial boycott, not a full-on, right? And so it seems like you should either do it or don't do it. But on the flip side is if there is something hot about to go down, do we want our diplomats there? And is that a risk?
It's crazy. By the way, 5%.
And we have less than. Sorry, I was going to say we have less than 20.
Oh, I just wanted to show you a little known fact here. BlackRock owns 407 million shares of the. Did you also know that it owns 7.5% of GSK Pharmaceutical, aka, and oh, look at that. It owns part of the right. In fact, almost every V company is owned in part by BlackRock. Ha ha! Oh, and those buildings and the tests and everything. The company that literally makes the test, BlackRock. Follow the money, people. All right, less than 10. Got to get to the big stuff here. China feared to be hiding missiles in containers in Trojan horse style plan to launch surprise attack anywhere in the world. You guys know, I did a video on the other channel. This is what we were talking about 3 years ago. We talked about it when there were the first like whiffs. I don't even know how many years it's been since we saw these whiffs of this. At that point, we thought it was fake. It was kind of animated pictures, almost like out of a book or something, of these containerized nuclear missiles. Not only are these real, all three countries have them. These container nuke launching systems can launch anything. I mean, they can have smaller containers. They have bigger containers. They have ones that can raise up 550 cals. I saw a new one that I just thought was insane. It's like something you would pull up like in a zombie game. Like you would drop it off and 550 cals, automated ones would just, anything that moves, take it out, right? The launcher ones, though, they can launch ICBMs with a container like this. Think about China. Think about the LA port, which China runs, or what part of that the LA port. Think about all of those containers. And now, finally, actual officials and actual military analysts and actual official members of government are now questioning if they have secretly been hiding missiles hidden in containers off of our shore or anywhere. To think about the logistics of how China would actually have to go to conflict with us, or if they did. What if they don't know if they're going to go to conflict with us or not? Maybe they are trying other avenues, and if that doesn't work, and if we do end up going to conflict, what if all of a sudden we see 20 of those containers open up and launch missiles at all of our country, and we have no way to defend against something that's going 50 feet and there's no SAMs around? I mean, like, this is some crazy stuff. But
and let's not forget that containers are not just backed up at one port in, South California, right? It's actually in lots of different places, and they sit out. It's not uncommon for ships to sit out on all the other ports, even if they're backed up or not backed up. So these things, could literally be surrounding and completely surrounded America.
And so we were talking about this. A lot of the community has talked about this for a long time, and especially since the situation with this is just so weird, right? It's almost all tied in with the V, BlackRock, all of it could be combined. Somebody that responded to me on Twitter said, oh yeah, there's sarcasm, right? Oh yeah, all of the world's governments and all of the doctors and all the scientists and all the agencies are all in on one big plan. Oh, okay, sure there. Get your tinfoil hat out, right? But then you follow the money trail up and it's not really that crazy. There's only like, there's only like, at the top of all of it, there's all these shell companies that are all connected at the top. Or their board people sit on this board and this board and this board. And guess what they also have in common? All of them meet once a year at a Bilderberg group. So yeah, I don't think it's too crazy to at least theorize that maybe, just maybe, there might be some connections here and there. Speaking of this, we got only a couple seconds left here, but China bans Flight Radar 24, even the devices that help it max. Now, let me ask you this. We saw just this last Saturday 14 C-130s. We know that they're going to use those, land them on U.S. highways, and use them to launch ICBMs in the event of a conflict. Not only that, we're seeing that, right? We're seeing all of this crazy military aircraft action this weekend. China, 3 weeks ago, bans it. What are they doing over there? If we're doing that, what are they doing? And then are they planning something? Flight radar, what if they are truly about to fly 10,000 aircraft or something? What if they don't want people using flight radar in their country to see them amassing these planes? What if they're about to launch a strike and they don't want people on flight radar to see our flight radar? Same, because we can download the app. They won't allow the app, but not only that, they won't allow the devices that help the app. What if they are actually trying to prevent people from seeing when they do that attack? And I always think of the movies when you see all of those aircraft, just thousands of them coming in. Red Dawn situation. What if they don't want you to see that as they're pulling them out from under their tarps and everything starts launching? Nobody would know. If they do attack, it would be a surprise attack. So we won't.
Well, and flight radar, for the most part, is civilian. I mean, military does show up, but you can turn it off. You can tell them to turn it off, and they don't track it for certain military. So the question I have is are they going to be doing the same thing that we know they're doing with their ships, with their aircraft, right? And then all of a sudden, civilian aircraft are all going to turn into militarized aircraft.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why wouldn't they? They could add weapons onto already owned planes. It's weird. I started talking about The Rock, the black. All of a sudden, it feels like I just got hit with a invisible bullet or something. Anyways, lots there. All of the links for tonight's show are here. If you do want to protect yourself from getting tracked and traced, go over to marfooglenews.com/offgrid. You can get backpacks that will literally protect all of your stuff from EMP. But not only that, you will also protect all of your devices from being hacked, traced, tracked. Again, they are literally tracking every movement of yours. This is a really, really good thing to have as far as to keep your protection, keep your electronics protected. The backpack that I have, it protects a tablet, laptop, keys, key fobs, cell phone, everything. You can get this yourself, the same backpacks that agencies like CIA and FBI use for evidence and things like that. These are the bags that they're making for consumers. So awesome stuff. Go over to marfooglenews.com/offgrid, code Marfoogle. Dex, thank you for your service today. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, brother. Great show. And don't forget to head over to marfooglenews.com and look for the web-only content. There's everything else that you couldn't get, that we didn't get to in the show. Lots of other one-sided content, too hot for TV content, some stuff you're just not going to believe. Go check it out. You've been missing it. It's web-only content. If you're on YouTube, click the description, open up the description. It's the first link. It'll take you right to the webpage.
And again, go over there. It is now officially time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. It's where I say thank you to the people that matter most. Again, thank you for all the people that have supported over on Marfoogle News as well. Make sure to go over and check that video. Again, this is the only thing that really matters. You guys have to share this out. You are the Marfia, okay? It takes you sharing our show out to get out anywhere, because they're not, a lot of the stuff, and including a couple things in the show, need to get out. But also on that Marfoogle News video, as far as the importance of those shorter videos, make sure to get those out to as many people as possible. You are the Marfia. You can do it. Go share it wherever you can, Facebook, any social media outlet. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out.
Do they got you just a little boom bazzle? Do they got you ready to go to battle? Frazzle, take a statue off all of the manos. Did they take away your baby rattle? So sad though. See something, say something, little tado. Bigger scandal than the big tobacco. Taking U.S. bombs out with the bell. Bombs out, bombs out, bombs. A lot like a Chicago. Politicians are starting to bab. Starting to. Send those in Seattle. Disappear like Karadoon on that Mando. And Dune. Maslow, do you have a maid or servant named Laszlo? Do they got you just a little boom bazzle? Do they got you ready to go to battle? Frazzle, take a statue off all of the manos. Did they take away your baby rattle? So big a scandal than the big tobacco. Was gold in the bike of Chicago. Politicians are starting to babble. Rebel. We're doing on that Mando. Hey, are you that slow? Do you have a maid or servant named Laszlo? Do they got you just a little boom bazzle? Do they got you ready to go to battle? Frazzle, take a statue off all of the manos. Did they take away your baby rattle? So sad though. See something, say something, little tado. Bigger scandal than the big tobacco. Taking U.S. bombs out with the tobacco. Pale white horse riding in no saddle. China starting to look a lot like a Chicago. Politicians are starting to babble. Talks and send those in Seattle. Disappear like Karadoon on that Mando. Hey, are you that slow? That's Hey, are you that slow? That's of the manos. Chicago, politicians are starting to babble. You're doing Mando. Lucifers, thank you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. Betty Lynn Hall, thank you. Lance JC, BlackRock is buying entire neighborhoods at a time in your country. Why? Because they want to turn everyone into renters. Perfect point right there. Perfect point. Lance JC, I thank you from Australia. Yes, build wealth, because revolutionaries should not be poor. But spend that wealth on things that are useful. Gold and silver are only good for circuit boards and jewelry. And we may not be in an age of computers. Or maybe I should get myself some jade. I hear China uses it like gold. I got the sack guru, Lance JC. Wanna break me, wanna bring back DJ revenue. Trey Slay, NCD, 3034 in the Zen Wednesday. AZ, that is an NJet X. You and the Linda L. Bring it right back like Hello McLeod. Rhythm up clean, bring it back now, station I clean. Brutio, a Durant, and a good now. And the Joan R. Jack and the Joan now. On the Chris Jones and the Black now. With the Delaware Sasquatch now. And the Kenny on Hooten and the True Technique. Bring it right back and we get on our knees. We pray to the Jesus that we see. Coming real soon like a Ronda T. Man City Pepper in that gent. Ariota Wrestling Mermaid Jazz. Hey, Kelly, 2, 3, 3, 4. Kelly, 2, 3, 4. Kelly on the 2, 3, 4. Hey, hey.
Oh, I said vote 11, bring it back 7, 11, bring it back around everybody knows. You can carry it from Cologne. Now anybody see, gotta do everything we do. All things are things. Thanks for all you do. And the gamma and the one that we love and we love you. And the Paul tagging too. And the regulatory day, bring it right back and you got that thing. Oh, and you bring it on, do it right back and you know me now. Hey, that dude.